Message and data rates may apply.
When did it become okay for men to be lazier, softer, fatter? We need to bring the men of this country back to greatness. And it's easier than ever with Ageless Male Max, a patent-pending formula with an ingredient that helps boost your total testosterone, promoting greater increases in muscle size and twice the reduction of body fat percentage than exercise alone. Plus, an amazing 64% increase in nitric oxide, which can be handy in the gym and in the bedroom. Take your manhood to the max by trying your first 30-day bottle free. Just pay shipping and handling. Not 10 days, not 15 days, but a full 30-day supply free when you text the word ROCK to 797979. Finally, a formula that boosts total testosterone. If your results with Ageless Male Max are too intense, please decrease use. For your free bottle, text ROCK to 797979. Text ROCK to 797979.
This is the best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our phone guest joined us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and we will dive into the myriad of hot takes that have been spewing forth like lava after the Supreme Court decision striking down the law against sports betting in most states in this country. We will get into that. There's a lot to get into. We'll try and put some context on it for you and figure out what it actually means and what it actually doesn't mean. But here's one thing we know for sure. You have a chance to have a really good time.
Golic and Wingo Leadership Retreat.
That's right. In case you weren't with us Monday, we've announced that we are going to have our first annual Golic and Wingo offsite all-hands town hall leadership retreat strategy session golf tournament.
Yes, we are.
We are giving away a chance for you guys to come play golf with me, Junior, Senior, and Stu Gatz at Pinehurst Resort. Okay? So you and two friends, right? You get to pick two friends. We're going to have four winners. They get a chance to come play golf with us. Oh, and have some leadership skills.
Yes, well, without
very
doubt.
important.
Yeah.
Very important.
Tons of great skills you can take back to your workplace, to your family, to your community.
Like
own,
a tan, or a Pinehurst shirt,
all that,
or a buzz, all those kind of things.
The rope courses and trust falls and things like that all happen around between the 6th and 10th hole.
Yes, but Mike, you've got to tell people how they can enter.
Okay, so here's what you need to do. Okay, you can enter between now and Friday, May 25th. And you get one entry and one entry only. You have to be following at Golic and Wingo. So you're going to tweet to us at Golic and Wingo, and you're going to use the hashtag Golf with GW Contest. Make sure you do that. So you're tweeting to at Golic and Wingo, hashtag Golf with GW Contest. One entry. You could just tweet us whatever you want to say. You can tweet a photo. You can tweet a video. We've been getting tons of entries so far. You get one entry.
Right, so make it good.
And there will be four, not one, not two, not three, but four grand prize winners. And you don't just get to bring one person with you.
No.
Each winner gets to bring two friends with them, so you will have three of you. And then Trey will golf with one of those groups. I will. You will. And Stu Gatz will.
Maybe.
As well.
Maybe.
Right now, Stu Gatz is part
He's
of
on
this.
probation.
We're trying to marry the show.
Yeah.
We're trying to do all that fun
Trying to
stuff.
bridge the gap, and we figure in this new day and age with gambling, Stu Gatz is actually going to have some unique leadership abilities that he can impart on you, the future degenerates of America.
Thought about that. That's
Understand what you're getting. 3-day, 2-night trip to Pinehurst Resort in Pinehurst, North Carolina. Round-trip airfare for you and your two guests. Premium accommodations at Pinehurst Resort, including hotels and meals. You're going to get treated like kings and queens, and understand where you're golfing. Trey, tell them just how good Pinehurst number 2 is.
Well, Pinehurst number 2, they've had U.S. Opens there. It's got the unique Donald Ross designed golf course greens where they're sort of like upside-down teacups where everything rolls off of them.
That's great.
So,
that'll help my game.
No, it won't, actually, in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
By the way, if you didn't digest all of that, a tweet pinned to our Twitter page at Golic and Wingo has all of this information. But here's all you need to know. You're going to get a chance to have a few beers and play golf with us. We're going to have a great time.
We're going to do the show out there.
Hey, let's reel it in. We'll put a pin in that. Circle back. Let's talk a little bit about the obstacle course. Team building.
Yeah, not really. The obstacle course will be the greens. It
will be the greens, and the teams will be the winners teamed up with all of us. So
that is
in
correct.
actuality, there will be team building and obstacle course thingamajiggers.
Exactly, and it's just through the golf, which is the way we want to do it anyway.
Great golf course, though.
Really good. Pinehurst number 2 is one of the best golf courses in the country, and we get to play the short course as well, the Cradle, which is their par 3 course.
So you're going to love it. You get one entry at Golic and Wingo, and make sure you hashtag golf with GW contest, one entry. Get it done. You have till Friday, May 25th, and come with us to Pinehurst.
Make it good. Make it creative. You only get one shot. If it stinks, you don't get to come.
That's also true. All right, time for Straight Talk now, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Clearly, the straightest talk everybody wants to get right now is what now happens in the aftermath of the Supreme Court ruling. So basically, so everyone knows, to set the parameters, the Supreme Court ruled on Monday in favor of New Jersey. Basically, the case formerly was known as Chris Christie versus the NCAA. Chris Christie's name has been supplanted by Phil Murphy, the state's new governor, basically striking down a 25-year-old federal law known as the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act that largely outlawed sports betting outside of Nevada. So basically what we're saying now is the Supreme Court has said, no, that's stupid. If states want to have sports betting, they can have sports betting. And now the question becomes, what does that mean? And what does that mean for where you live? And I think the first thing we need to say is right now the only place you can still do this is Nevada. Okay?
Correct.
Now, other states, and I think there's several, like West Virginia, Connecticut, New Jersey, and a couple other ones.
So New Jersey's very soon. New Jersey could be up and running as soon as, my understanding is around the NBA Finals.
Could be the NBA Finals,
yeah, so
exactly.
They want to get up and running. So the question then becomes, what does this mean first and foremost to legalize gambling in Nevada? I think the first question we say is people are not going to need to flock to Nevada and the Las Vegas casinos to do their sports betting anymore, because I think we believe a lot of states will see this as a way to add revenue.
Yeah, I mean, right now you could go to Nevada, you could do some offshore betting as well, and then there's the $50 to $150 billion business of illegal betting, which had been going on. Because basically it had been about $5 billion in Vegas, of which football, college and pro, had taken up, I think, about $1.75 billion of that. That would be the most. So now it is going to open up to, they said, possibly within 5 years you could have 32 states with legalized gambling. And there are a ton of questions here, and I think the one of the first biggest ones is going to be, is it going to be individual states making the laws, or, as the NFL has said they would like to have, and maybe others as well, something uniformly done? You know, making legislation to where, okay, these are the rules for all the states. You can't individually have your own rules. I think that's going to, while states are going to start out that way, you wonder, will it end up being universal in the long run?
Yeah, I'll be interested to ask Ryan about that, because the legality of that process, which there seems like there's more lawsuits on the way, basically, because you've got the potential for the sports leagues now going to bet with the states, because the one thing that a lot of people have made clear is that Nevada hasn't been giving a cut of their revenue to any of these sports leagues.
That's exactly right. Let's make one thing clear. The biggest winner in every state that wants to do this is going to be the state, because they're going to get the revenue. And here's former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie explaining.
In my view, it's a few $100 million a year probably in tax revenue. It's a significant amount of money. And let's face it, it's better off, in my view, going into defraying taxes, making sure that programs are paid for through things like that than through higher income taxes and higher sales taxes and property taxes. I think that'd be much better. I know when I'm speaking to people in Illinois, they're the only people who suffer more than people in New Jersey from that. So they're going to love hearing that they're going to get some extra money that way.
He mentioned Illinois because he was on Waddle and Sylvie in ESPN Chicago. So the states are going to be the big winners.
Here's
first
the thing,
and foremost.
because let's be honest, when something like this happens, everybody starts to think, how am I getting mine? Where am I getting a cut of this? First and foremost is going to be the states. Let's look at something else that has been illegal everywhere and now is becoming legalized, marijuana. Look in Colorado, so between 2014 and 2017, the tax revenue they got, over $500 million to the state. So it's doing what they thought it was going to do. It's going to
generating
make
revenue.
The state money, and that's what these states want. They want money, but we know, Mike, how this works. Everybody else, it was just like the FanDuels and the DraftKings when they were making it illegal. When was it going to become legal? When everybody figured out how much money they were going to get out of it. So that's what's going to go on here. The states are going to get the money, and then it's going to be like, okay, now who's reaching into the pocket to try and grab some of this money to try and get rich a little quicker on this one?
There is so much of that at stake. Yeah. And for everyone, it's because it makes life easier in a lot of these realms. For the state, if you've got other areas where you're in debt, you've got other areas that are problems for you, this money helps some of that. If you're the leagues and you've been struggling with television ratings or attendance, all of a sudden, these things create a groundswell around those issues. So everyone understands that money, like a lot of things, can lessen a lot of problems. It may not fix everything, but it can fix a lot.
And that's the next thing. We know the states are going to make their money. The question then becomes, how do the leagues get what they perceive to be their slice of this?
Golic
and Wingo.
And Wingo.
Mm-hmm. Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. Golic and Wingo with you on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. That song and that lyric, "Wish I Was a Little Bit Taller," makes all the sense in the world when you saw what Kevin Durant did in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals against shorter opponents trying to guard him, because it did not go well.
Again, I say I rarely wear themed shirts, but I have on the Christmas Story Ralphie O Fudge shirt where he has a soap in his mouth because he didn't say fudge. He said the mother of all words.
The bad word.
And that's exactly what the Rocket fans were saying last night as they watched that game finish, going, oh, fudge, because what do you do now?
Yep, their better is just better than our better at this point.
Right.
And that cold truth crept into their hearts somewhere around the middle of the fourth quarter.
How about it?
Absolutely. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic Jr. here with you. We're glad you're with us. Lots to get to today, including Game 2 tonight coming up of the Eastern Conference Finals. Ryan Smith, by the way, our legal analyst, will join us in just about 30 minutes.
Right.
Hopefully he'll help us navigate a little bit of what will, may, or may not happen now that the Supreme Court has struck down that 25-year-old law basically banning all sports betting outside of the state of Nevada. Carlos Boozer, two-time NBA analyst, will join us in studio in just a little bit. Nothing like a two-time NBA All-Star. Yeah, sorry about that. Mm-hmm. Nothing like a little booze cruise on a Tuesday morning.
There you go. Absolutely.
Todd Furman, a former odds maker at Caesars Palace, will also stop by at 8:30. I am curious.
Oh, they're going to become big.
I am very curious to see how he interprets this and what are the things that may be a spinoff, because one of the things that's going to be interesting about this is now that this is out there and it's going to be a part of, how quickly does every network have a gambling analyst? How quickly might we have an analyst in a booth of a game talking about some things that may be going on? That would be fascinating.
To what extent does it change the content and structure of almost every show that we and other networks do? Yep. And that's going to be the interesting underlying part of this, is assessing how much more the market for gambling can grow now that it's legalized, because we understand there's already a ton of money and interest in this, or else we wouldn't be having this conversation. Now it's how much more room is there to grow, and how does that alter with the new information that we get, how we conduct our business?
Well, that's exactly right. Everybody has a stake in the game, and there's a lot of ways to go, including us. How can we present it in a way that's going to make it easy for the fan to understand, accessible for the fan, because this show is going to have to do it. We are going to have to talk about gambling and odds and numbers and things like that, and put it in. And it's something I'm not used to. I mean, without question, I am not used to it at all, but it's something I will get even more familiar with because I have to, and I'll want to, because it is now going to become part of sports.
We'll get to all of that, plus Michael Wilbon will join us in the 9 o'clock hour. But first, let's do what's trending. And kudos to Steve Kerr, by the way, who understands the time and place maybe perhaps better than anyone. He said prior to Game 1 against the Rockets, I'm taking the Warriors plus 1.5, as they were underdogs on the day, by the way, where the Supreme Court struck down the ban on sports gambling. First of all, kudos to you, Steve, for putting that all together. And I don't think the Warriors with Kevin Durant and Steph Curry both playing are ever going to be underdogs again.
Again, that was the stat with Curry and Durant on the floor. They had never been underdogs until last night, and obviously we saw what happened there, a double-digit win. So you're right, that will be the one and only time it happens. And listen, the game played out exactly how these two teams played. James Harden and Chris Paul, dribble, ISO, shoot. They shot almost 50% of the entire team shots. And for the Golden State, they passed the ball out. Now, three guys, basically Clay, Curry, and Durant had like 75% of the shots. But the way they move the ball, it's not dribble, ISO. They move the ball around to get those shots. So it's not anything we're like, wow, I didn't expect to see that. We're seeing exactly what we thought we were going to see from these two teams, and we're seeing the fact that Golden State is just better.
Yeah, Golden State's better, and they're more equipped. They've been through these situations before, so everyone on their team understands their role a little better. You've got Houston trying to play Ryan Anderson at the 5 during stretches last night, trying to go super small to combat Golden State's lineup of death. All of these different things, and to top it all off, the one area that really, I think, hurt Houston as much as anything was foul trouble. A guy like Trevor Ariza with 5 fouls last night, limiting how effective he can be. Foul trouble early for some of their key contributors. That's an area where if they want to flip the script, they've got to find a way to get Kevin Durant and some of those important Warriors in foul trouble by going at them more than they did.
Bottom line here, you're Houston. You fought all year long. You get 82 games to get home court. It goes away in one game, a game in which your best player scored 41, played out of his mind.
Yeah.
Steph Curry only had 18, Draymond Green only had 5, and you still lost by 13 at home. You want to talk about the demoralizing factor on a scale of 1 to 10? That's about an 8.5.
And that's the thing. The coach is going to go through mistakes, going to point at 13 turnovers, going to try and say, okay, we need to do this better, because that's what the coach has to do at this point when you're in a series. But you know who knows more than anything? Those players.
Yep.
Those players. And this to me has turned into the Rockets and Harden getting his, like the Cavaliers and LeBron, who's going to score over 40 tonight, and how much help are you getting from your teammates?
Yep.
And even if you get a ton of help, is it enough against this Golden State team?
It doesn't appear like that would be the case. Speaking of LeBron and the Cavs, they demoralized the Raptors, obviously, with that 4-game sweep as they were the number 1 seed. But they're in trouble. And that really the series, for all practical purposes, could be over tonight as they try to avoid to go down 2-0 to Boston. That game is at 7:30 on ESPN and ESPN Radio, because the Celtics, Mike, are 8-0 at home this postseason. You've got to find a way to win one.
One of these, Mike, if it happens tonight, what happened in Game 1, then I truly would come back and say, okay, yeah, now I'm concerned. Right now, not. LeBron, again, the last 5 times in the Eastern Conference, he was down 0-1. He came back and won. His team won those series. So there's not that worry yet. If they get drubbed again tonight, I would obviously say there's huge worry in that fact. But we know what's going to happen, just like we knew in Game 2 of the Pacers series what was going to happen. But again, the unknown is who's going to come along for the ride with LeBron. And is Tristan Thompson going to be in the lineup to combat Al Horford? Will he be a starter tonight as opposed to coming off the bench and on Horford more?
The best tool in the Cleveland arsenal is the LeBron James adjustment. Like this idea that, and I don't know if you guys got this sneaking feeling that I did. This is just how much the basketball genius of LeBron has like inundated my peanut brain, where I'm sitting here watching LeBron.
By the way,
in Game
I'm so
1.
glad you finished that as peanut. I
didn't know where that was going either. Thank you.
But I sat there watching that game and seeing the way that LeBron was sort of passively going about things and how poorly he was playing. And I said, he can't be doing this on accident, right? Like LeBron James, as great as he's been throughout this season and this playoff run, can't be going out here and actually being stopped by somebody else. So this must be intentional. This must be some larger design. And maybe that's me drinking too much of the Kool-Aid, but I couldn't help. That was how I felt.
Well, it's interesting. None other than Celtics TV analyst Brian Scalabrine told that to us. I mean, basically, he was saying, as much as, we look great and all this stuff, I kind of felt like LeBron was doing some probing. What happens if I do this?
Recon mission.
Exactly. What happens if I do this? And if that's what he was doing, dude, you got big ones.
Yeah, look out.
Okay, just to go in there, I'm just going to lay down basically in Game 1, 15.7 turnovers, just to see how this all plays out. I mean, that would be the most, unagi mastermind of all time. Yeah. Well done. But again, for all practical purposes, it could end tonight, because if the Celtics go 2-up, history says, see you later. Mm-hmm. They are 37-0.
That's a good record.
As in have never lost a series when they go up 2-0 in a best-of-7 series. And then, of course, the other interesting thing about the NBA is the draft lottery is tonight at 7:30 on ESPN. The Suns have the best lottery odds at 25%, and the team with the best chance has won the top pick in the last 3 years.
Yeah, so they have 25%. Then you go down to 19% for the Grizzlies, 13 for the Mavs, 13 for the Hawks, and 8 for the Magic. The Cavaliers actually having just under a 10% chance of landing a top 3 pick because of that Brooklyn pick. Would that be unreal? But a 90% chance of getting 8, 9, 10, or 11. So this next year starts the ping pong balls where the lowest 3 teams all have 14% of a chance. Right now, It is the Suns, and the last 3 years, the team with the highest and best percentage to get the number one pick has gotten the number one pick, so we'll see if it goes that way again tonight.
I'm just fascinated looking at the list of top prospects now and seeing how far down now Trae Young has fallen, who through the early portion of the college basketball season was talked about as maybe a top overall type lottery pick, and now has slid down behind a lot of size in this year's draft. Like the amount of capable, athletic, 6'10" and 7-footers in this draft shows you where this league is trending.
Well, the top five prospects right now, 4 are 6'11" or 7 foot.
Yeah. DeAndre Ayton, Marvin Bagley III, Jaren Jackson, and Bamba the center out of Texas. So, which is interesting if you think about it, because the way the game is being played right now on the NBA level, the big man has sort of been relegated a little bit, and it's been about the catch and shoot guys.
But it's how these guys play, though, when they can play away from the basket.
I would say it's the way guys like DeAndre Ayton can move that mimics those Anthony Davises and Giannis Antetokounmpos of the world.
Okay, so we're going to play our own lottery game right now. Right? We all set with this?
We are.
So if you're watching us on ESPN News, we have we don't have the ping pong ball to spit things out, but we got a container full of...
We got a sounder, though.
We do have a sounder?
We have a sounder. Hit the sounder.
Hit the sounder. And that's the sounder.
High production value.
Okay.
All right, so what we do, we have 32 balls in here because they have 32 questions.
But there are only 30 teams in the NBA.
So, exactly. So figure that one out. So basically...
Guys, just real quick, for the NBA draft lottery, they don't put 32 balls in one thing. Just as
I understand because of the percentages, yes.
Okay. So the reason that we pick 32 is just arbitrary.
Just arbitrary.
Yeah, arbitrary balls.
Just because.
But we figured this isn't the NBA draft lottery, so we just figured to put the amount of balls in.
So the fact that there's 30 teams in the NBA has nothing to do with what we're doing.
No bearings. You were already wrong about the Supreme Court. You want to keep going?
And
try
we're
and be
off
wrong
to
again?
A great start.
All right, so here we go. We're going to draw out.
Have you picked yet?
The ball, each ball here has a number on it, corresponds with something they have in the room back there. We have a 25% chance
of getting candy.
Of getting a candy bar, just like the Suns have a 25% chance of getting the first pick.
I feel like they thought of this game with you in mind.
I know,
I just want
to
be clear about that.
The other percentages means they're going to ask us a question. Okay?
All right.
So I'm going to pick first. I have the number 15. What is number 15?
15. Who is the best villain in movie history?
Wait, it's not a candy bar?
It's not a candy bar.
Well, if it was a candy bar, they would have said you want a candy bar.
Well, I know.
It seemed like that was implied by what came out of their mouth.
And I'm so sad about it.
I was about to say, you get over it.
Who's the best villain? I'll tell you what. Thanos is going to be right there with getting the 6 stones, man, and what he can do. You know,
there's a very sheer mass, great bulk. He's a big hypertrophy guy.
You know what? I can go. I'll go old school. Darth Vader. Darth Vader. That's where I'm going to go.
I would have gone maybe Bane.
Okay. Well, you know what? It wasn't your question.
Or how about Kevin Spacey in the movie Seven? Did you see him?
I did see him.
Ooh.
I wouldn't have picked either one of those, but hey, go ahead.
Wow, spoiler alert.
Well,
it came out in 1994.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I feel comfortable.
Give people a warning.
All right, here we go. Let's do another question.
Ahead.
Here we go. Sounder. Here we go. Not looking. I have picked 25.
25.
Oh, no.
I get the candy.
Don't give him the Twix.
I get the candy. I got the candy.
Oh, man.
You can't have any.
What did you get?
Devin.
Our own baloney boy, Devin.
Oh, no, he's our bubble boy.
He's been rebranded. Baloney
Reese's
boy.
peanut butter cups. Wow.
It's a great draw.
I can smell it through the
All
wrapper.
right, hit the sounder. Junior's picking.
Here we go. This concept seems vaguely familiar. I went with 26.
Ooh, weird question here. What's your best childhood memory?
My best childhood memory.
Just remember your dad sitting to your left.
It better involve your father.
So, best childhood.
And for the record, there are sports questions in here. You just haven't
this is
drawn
better.
out.
We don't care about
this
sports
is good.
questions.
We'll keep this going.
My best childhood memory, while my performance was lackluster, as a youth, I got to play Bozo's grand prize game where you stand with a ball not dissimilar to this, and you have to throw it into the the buckets one after another, and they get further away. I only made it 2 buckets, and I think I won an Aladdin board game.
It was awesome. Yeah. Bozo's grand prize. I mean, listen, grew up on that. So for me and your mother to watch you do that. But unfortunately, stink as bad as you did.
Oh, so bad.
You were horrible. He gave you an extra shot.
He did, yeah. He felt bad. The clown took pity on me.
Bad. You looked good, but you were so bad at that game, and we were heartbroken But we thought, you know what, our one chance, and you could really star in this thing. And, well, I'm not going to lie. You disappointed us.
Maybe this is just me, maybe you guys projected so much of how much you love that it made it a great childhood memory for me, because I don't truthfully remember that much, but I remember the way it made you guys feel. So you're welcome. You got involved in this.
I very well may have spanked him when he got home.
We want to, important information. Devin, Bubble Boy, you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, it's a rough childhood, huh? That's your best one? That's all you got?
Listen, it was either that or the time I ate a donut that had been stuck in a tire tread for about a day. So.
Let's talk about that.
It's
for
impressive.
A minute.
Yeah, no, it was something.
So
that was on it was one of those that no one dared me, but I dared myself
to just pick a donut out of a tire.
Yeah, I don't know how I was more impressed that the donut managed to stay lodged in the tire tread as long as it did, but it was one of those chocolate covered gas station donuts.
Yeah.
And I just plucked it out of there and ate it. Boy, I've eaten a lot of stuff in my life. That is by far my deepest regret. It tasted really bad.
The other one, did you do bad? What'd you do with a gumball along the cafeteria floor?
It's supposed to be best childhood memory, not worst.
Someone who rolled
memory.
it along the cafeteria. That one's, you just blow it off a little bit. That one, that's easy to just kind of get the dust off of.
It seems like you're bringing up miserable memories. It's supposed to be a really good childhood.
Yeah, no, believe me, this moment of self-reflection is not lost on me. It's a dark childhood.
The grand prize game was awesome. That was really cool.
You want to try one more round of these?
We'll save it.
One more round of these?
Come on.
We got more rounds.
Let's
do
it.
Let's hit the sounder.
What are we going to do? Talk about sports gambling more?
Which we will be doing in a few minutes, by the way.
Please, God, let this be candy.
4. The number 4.
What would you be doing if you weren't in the sports broadcast industry?
Making candy, I'm guessing. Hand me that box.
I don't think there's any doubt I'd be doing porn.
Okay.
You know what the worst part is I was getting ready to say that into the microphone that talks to the studio in there. My exact answer was me. Oh, yeah, porn.
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
By the way, just so
I'd be a director.
Just so you know, we've lost researcher Riley. We've lost. Riley is she's
porn name? Golic the Gargantuan. Are you kidding me?
Oh.
I mean, seriously.
All right, we didn't need that.
What?
We didn't need any of it.
What? You asked a question. You asked a question.
Now
you
that
didn't
is
answer.
true. You guys
okay?
You knew where this was going.
Moving on. Here we go. Rolling through. It's Tuesday morning. And it's
The Tick.
Number 18. Number 18.
If you could only listen to one musical act for the rest of your life, who would you choose?
Not the music for Golic the Gargantuan. I can promise you that.
That's a good question. I don't like that.
That's a tough one. One act for the entire
rest of your life.
That's correct, yes.
I think I have to go U2.
Really?
Yeah, U2.
Okay.
Wasn't the whitest answer possible, which is what I was expecting given the normal realm of this show.
What was the whitest answer possible there?
I feel it was. I mean, what is the whitest answer possible? Is it
Beatles?
Is it the Beatles? Yeah, the Beatles would be the whitest answer possible.
U2 has been around for a long time, and their music has gotten very varied over the years. So yeah, I would go with U2.
All right, that's a good one.
Good choice. Good choice. All right.
Well, I'm glad you approve.
Run the thing.
This would be great, by the way, if you also got candy. You can't look at them.
What doesn't matter? They're in there.
It doesn't matter
the number.
13.
Candy again. Candy again.
Unreal. I'm the only one who didn't get candy.
And the game was geared for you. The whole game was set up for you.
Baloney boys.
He got a Twix.
He got a Twix bar. Now, is it left Twix or right Twix?
This is the left Twix.
Because, nice, Cool in the Gang.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is fun. We got to keep. We have more candy. We can keep doing this, right?
Yeah.
No, there's only 2 pieces of candy. They only gave us 2 pieces of candy.
I can't believe I really disrupted to
bring
disturb people with
times.
I tell you,
and your laughter.
Twix,
too.
I think, is the most underrated candy bar of all time.
Who's underrating Twix?
Love
I think
Twix.
everyone.
Why would people underrate Twix?
I think they're sleeping on it.
Twix is very, very high in the rankings.
I tell you what's super overrated, by the way, Snickers.
Did me really saying porn surprise that many people?
I don't. Just so you know, I don't come into the studio every day thinking Golic and porn.
I think my porn name would be Snickers.
Okay, now
I think that'd be a great
need
one
to move on.
To what?
I don't. Thank God Ryan Smith's coming on.
Where do we go? Where do we go from there?
From porn to the law, the Golic and Wingo difference.
It's really actually not a big leap if you think about it.
It really isn't.
It really is. It's really just a few statutes away. But that is the interesting thing going forward. Again, the big law struck down yesterday by the Supreme Court by a score of 6-3. Now,
right.
We got that figured out.
Yes, we did.
So sports gambling is now going to be available in states outside of Nevada if they want to do it. And we know that a few states like New Jersey, Connecticut, West Virginia, I think New York, and a few others.
New Jersey could be ready to go by the NBA Finals.
Yeah, Delaware is also in there.
Delaware.
Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Illinois.
Bottom line, there have been states preparing for this.
Yes.
And with their infrastructure and ready to go and ready to get this thing going online. And again, in as few as a couple of weeks. And from the reports and people, the analysts out there saying within 5 years, you could have basically 32 states doing this. Now, the question is going to be, is it going to be 32 or these 32 states individual state rules, or are we going to have something governing everything?
Which is what the NFL is going
like
for.
to
and
see.
We'll get into the NFL's response, which I find very curious because they're the one league that has maybe benefited more from gambling than any other sport.
Best sports nickname that doubles as a porn name, Iron Mike.
Moving on. Coming up,
really
Golic and Wingo is presented by Progressive's Home Insurance. Get your quote at Progressive.com today. You want answers, and we'll have the man who has the answers, Ryan Smith.
Golic
I tell you what, a great sports night last night, no doubt about it.
and Wingo.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like a whole new person.
Disclaimer, you will not become a whole new person. This is impossible. You might be able to join a gym or diet program, buy a new wardrobe, get hair implants, but your DNA and physical form will remain the same. Geico waives any and all liability if you attempt to become a new person, except a cyborg. If you choose to become a half-human, half-cybernetic organism with lasers for eyes, the Geico legal team would be cool with that, because, quote, laser eyes are pretty sweet. Pew, 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 end quote.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Ryan, I know you're very busy this morning and a very popular guy. Not to say you're not a popular guy every day, but you're especially popular today.
I'm only popular when something big legally happens.
Okay,
right,
so the law got struck down yesterday. So the question everyone really wants to know out of the gate is, what does that mean? What happens next?
So biggest thing is look to Jersey. Jersey gets to start sports gambling, and they've been gearing up for this. They've already sort of passed their law. That's what this whole case was about. So within a couple of weeks, they could start taking bets. There are about 4 or 5 other states out there that passed laws but didn't quite gear up just yet because they were waiting to see what happened in this decision. If things don't go down your way, you've spent all this money, and then you just can't do sports betting. So those places will take a couple more months. I bet they're probably hoping to be up and running by football season. And then there's a handful of states out there that have laws in their legislature, going through the legislature to try to get something set up for sports betting. Those will be fast-tracked, and they hope to have something by the end of the year. The last category of states are the ones that are going to take the wait-and-see approach. They don't have a law on the books yet. They haven't been proposing a law, but they want to see how this all goes, the goods, the bads, how you protect against sports addictive gambling, how you outlaw certain things, where the most profitability is, and then they'll set up their laws. But I think this is something that within a couple of years, we could see sports betting in every single state in ways that we can't even imagine right now.
So, Ryan, since we're in an immediate society that says, oh, my God, in 2 weeks I can start betting in New Jersey, this is fantastic. What will there be any limitations, or is it all by state? Can they basically gamble, say, we'll bet on anything, any prop bets, anything?
Well, there will be limitations. So in New Jersey, for example, the way it's set up, you got to be over 21. You can't bet on Jersey college teams. You can't bet on Jersey college teams that are playing games even outside of New Jersey. And you can only bet at racetracks and casinos. So that's what's happening now. Now, they are currently working on new regulations because what they essentially did here was they said, let's try to get a law in place that can pass muster with the Supreme Court. But it's kind of like a placeholder. It wasn't completely filled out with all kinds of regulations and how the taxes work and all that stuff. So they're going to do that now and get that all set up. That's what's happening there. Each state will have to decide what is good and what is bad. So some states may ban prop bets, which is exactly what the leagues want in many cases, not in every case, but in a lot of cases. But then other states, they might say, well, why not do those and see what happens? And that's going to be a problem for leagues if you've got guys betting on, for example, if the first pitch is a strike or a ball, or who gets the first free throw. I mean, those are things that the leagues are concerned players might be able to manipulate to impact the eventual outcome of the game, which hurts the integrity of the games. So I think what's really tough for the leagues now is they got to go from state to state and make sure their interests are protected. That's why they're pushing for Congress to get involved and make an overall change that can govern everybody.
Talking to ESPN legal analyst Ryan Smith on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And Ryan, when it comes to that, you mentioned it, the leagues are looking to not only protect their interest, but to also get their cut. We know Adam Silver's been out in front of this for a while talking about wanting 1%, but we hear about the precedent of Las Vegas where they haven't been getting any money there. Chris Christie's saying, why would they get any money in a state like New Jersey or elsewhere? What leverage do the leagues have, legal or otherwise, to push back and say we deserve a share of this?
So, Mike, you make a great point. You know, right now their argument is give it to us because we want it, which I can tell you from negotiation perspective is not a successful strategy. So I think what they will eventually do is they're going to argue, hey, our intellectual property rights are being violated. We've got this product out there that without it you wouldn't be able to make this money, and therefore we're going to try to find a way to maybe threaten a lawsuit or try to restrict you from getting certain intellectual property in betting. Now, that hasn't really worked in Vegas, so they're going to have a tough road there. The other thing they can try to do is say, we're going to offer you something special. We'll offer you a way to protect your citizens if you work with us. We've got the data and everything that makes sure that you can detect when you've got problem gamblers betting on games. And you better believe that states, even though they want the revenue, they don't want to see a whole new class of addictive gamblers coming up and families being threatened because of this. So that's a selling point that I think the leagues think they have to say, look, we've got the data, the analysis, we can track things for you. We can be a partner in this so we can both make money. But right now, that argument isn't working in some states. In New York, they're kind of thinking, well, why would we pay you a dime? You're not paying Nevada a dime. And then the other question becomes, okay, so if you do get some people to pay, are you then going to go back and try to get Nevada to pay? So it's kind of, right now they're more hopeful than anything, and they feel like if they can offer things that the state can't do itself, then maybe they'll be able to justify that fee. But they're couching it in this language of, well, it's our product, so you should pay us. And I can tell you that alone ain't going to cut it.
That's not going to cut a thing, but leverage is the key. So we brought this up a little earlier, if they can do this. What do people want to know as far as gambling more than anything else? Who's playing, who's not, who's hurt, who's not? We see injury reports all the time. Do the leagues control those enough where they can say, you know what, we're pulling those back. Now we're not giving anybody any injury information at all, even though it's been given out for years now. Could they legally pull that back? Could that work for them?
I think they could try to do that, and I think they could try to pull back a lot of things that bettors and people who are making lines try to rely on. But there's problems with that, and this is sort of the damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. So let's say you pull back those injury reports, and you feel like you have a basis to do that. They're your injury reports, so you should have control over them. You say, hey, if you got a problem with it, fight me in court. But let's say there's somebody on the inside that a betting house can get in touch with, can pay him a little bit of money, and now those reports are leaked. Now you've got one company with injury reports, other companies without them, and confusion among the public, confusion among your fan base. I think the problem is not as simple as cutting off a report, because we live in the age of leaks. We live in the age of people taking payments for different things. If you can't get them somewhere else, that information is valuable. And while leagues would say, well, we'll lock that down and make sure it's not going to get out, you have to wonder whether or not that's going to be a successful solution. So I think that's why you see the NBA, Adam Silver, Major League Baseball, and even the NFL to some extent, going to these states and trying to work with them. And I think it just is the best solution, because all the threats, they can always come up with a lawsuit, guys. You can always come up with a lawsuit talking about how somebody's violating your privacy rights. There's a lot of different claims they could make. But ultimately, working with them is the best solution, because anything you try to hold back could be something that someone else could try to take, buy from somebody on the inside, and try to exploit to their advantage, damaging your fan base even more.
Ryan Smith with us, our ESPN legal analyst. And to that point, Ryan, you know, the NFL has come more than any other league at this point with the strongest statement saying we need to make sure we protect the integrity of the game when it comes to sports betting. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting if you look at historically things, for example, in Europe, where there have been there's been legalized gambling for a long, long time. Yes. Actually, that gambling and that legalized gambling has led to the finding out of certain things that were affecting the integrity of the game. For example, there have been tennis match-fixing scandals all the time, and the reason those things came to light is because of the broker houses and the bookie houses all were looking at illegal trend or very odd trends in gambling that led to these being exposed. So in a weird way, what a lot of the leagues are concerned about may actually be beneficial to them because of legalized gambling.
I love that you say that, Trey, because I think you make an excellent point. The idea that we could find out about illegal things that are going on right now is wonderful for the public. You know who doesn't like that? The leagues. You know why? Can you imagine how much we would talk endlessly about how the NFL failed to do their job by allowing a scandal to happen if that came out? That's the only thing. I think, especially in Europe, they view these things somewhat differently. And I'm not saying everybody in the league feels that way. What I'm saying is, if we see one scandal that comes out as a result of this happening, it's going to be another reason why the league didn't want this to happen in the first place, because now it's more publicity about how the league isn't doing something right and how you can't trust any of the outcomes in the games here. And I think that scares them to death. I think they would rather have a situation where you're looking forward and they're able to control this. And that's been the biggest problem all along with all this, especially for the NFL. You fear what you can't control. They can't control what states are going to do, what they're going to allow, what the penalties are going to be if people violate laws with respect to this. That's going to be the hardest thing for them to deal with. So even though you might get more information and you might root out more bad things, imagine what people are going to say if there's a big betting scandal or if there's a big scandal that comes out about fixing in football. I mean, everybody's going to look at the NFL and say, how can we trust anything about the outcome? The chance of that having an impact on their bottom line has got to scare them to death.
Well, look, the bottom line is the bottom line.
Yes.
And that's maybe the truest thing in all of this, and that's what they're trying to protect as well as everything else. But again, some of these things that may come out will actually, you can be beneficial because of this going forward, and we'll see how it all plays out. Again, go ahead, Ryan, what are you going to say?
No, I completely agree with you. I'm saying what I love about what you're saying is you're saying it's beneficial, and I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely beneficial in the long term. The problem is a lot of these leagues are thinking short term,
right.
And they're thinking, well, in the short term, they're going to destroy us. They're going to say, well, you know what, we can't trust anything about the game. And I think sometimes they get too caught up in trying to limit short-term exposure to bad things rather than think about all the good something could do.
Yeah, the bottom line, this isn't getting overturned again anytime soon. So this is our new reality.
No.
Ryan, you are the most popular man in all of media today, and we appreciate you spending some time with us. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Really Smith always breaks it down really sharp.
Yes,
really smart dude.
Golic and Wingo.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold. It's very interesting where that went.
You know, Mike D'Antoni said all the right things after the game, the head coach of the Rockets. Well, we didn't do this right. We didn't do that right. Turnovers. Yeah. We got to hit shots. Blah. We had some mental lapses. But at the end of the day, is there really anything they can do that's going to reverse the outcome of this series? Because when push comes to shove, your best player, James Harden, scored 41. Chris Paul played great, had 23. They're just better and deeper than you are.
Yeah, they are better and they are deeper. But for Houston, you got to get other guys involved a little bit more. Like, guys got to want to shoot the ball. They need more scoring from other positions. Like, it's hard to reinvent somebody all of a sudden in the Western Conference Finals. Like, you don't expect PJ Tucker to go out there and have 20 points in a game.
Right.
But a guy like Eric Gordon has done it before. He's come off the bench and had 30 points. Other guys, Trevor Ariza can knock down a couple of threes. We've seen Clint Capella be very effective defensively, but we may need him to get more offensive minded, more alley-oops, more rolls to the basket, more running out in transition. But the Golden State have pieces that can defend that. That's the only problem. They have every position covered. Then they come off the bench with Sean Livingston and other guys as well that can also defend. So it's very tough to score against them, and it's very tough to stop them from scoring.
So along those lines of like Eric Gordon, he was 6 of 13 last night. Did have 15 points, so he shot relatively well. But maybe he'll have a 30-point game. But we're talking about consistently they need to win 4 games in this series. So what? Other than hoping those guys can hit more shots, what X's and O's wise do you see can they try differently in game 2, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, right away, the first thing you think of is defense. You got to do a better job of stopping them, but how do you do that? How do you stop them from knocking down open shots? How do you stop Kevin Durant from shooting over, Chris Paul, who's guarding him? He's giving up 8 anybody. He's giving up inches to anybody because he's so tall and with his length. I think at the end of the day, you got to slow down other guys. Like, I don't know there's nobody on that team that you can actually double because everybody can shoot. They even come off the bench with Swaggy P, and he had a good game last night.
He did, right. Yeah. Hitting things left and right.
So it's very tough to figure out what the actual thing is to do to stop them. But if we figure it out, give us a job.
Yeah. Let us know.
Let us know.
But from a mental standpoint, as Carlos Boozer is here with us in studio, is this the equivalent of what the Cavs did to the Raptors in Game 1, where they were the number 1 seed?
Yeah.
They said it was going to be different this year, and they went up there and just took the first 2 games, especially the first game. Like, no, it's really the same thing. Right. Daryl Morey, the GM of the Rockets, has said all year, we are obsessed with finding ways. They went 82 games to make sure if there's a Game 7, it's going to be on our floor. And in the first game, the Warriors like, we're taking that right back.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a Game 7. I do think even if the Houston Rockets somehow win Game 2, they're going back to Golden State, and you know how explosive this team is down there in the Bay Area. The fans are going to be crazy. They're going to be hitting shots from all over the place. Mind you, Steph Curry didn't even have an explosive game, and you know that's coming because he does it every series against every team. So I just I'm not saying that Houston's out. I just think they need to win badly in Game 2.
So if this goes as everybody expects, not only in the Western Conference Final, but I mean, Boston or Cleveland, you don't see either one of them beating Golden State either. No. So if they roll through again, does this change the offseason at all that we're looking forward to? Or is it still, are teams looking to in the now put a team together to beat Golden State? Or do you look more to the future to try and do that?
That's a great question. The crazy thing about it is they won 73 games. Then they went out and signed Kevin Durant. And I think somebody told me a stat last night where they're like, I don't know, 20-3 or so. They don't lost 3 games in the playoffs with Kevin Durant.
Yeah, they've never lost 4 games with Durant there.
Yeah.
And so now you expect them to lose 4 in a series?
Yeah, so for me, they're going to be good for a long time. It's like they can keep the whole team together, financially.
Right.
So other teams looking to try to beat them, you got to go out and get like LeBron and Kawhi and Paul George on one team or something, which could happen. But, at the end of the day, you got to put together a super team that can defend those guys, that can score against those guys. And I just don't know if anybody's going to be able to do it.
Our Golic and Wingo presented by 1-800-Flowers.com. Life special event calls for a beautiful bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order a dozen Gabura daisies starting at $29.99, you'll also get a free vase. For details, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. So should we be sending flowers to the Cavs from 1-800-Flowers.com? Because if they lose tonight, history says it's over. First of all, the Celtics have not lost a home game this postseason, and when they go up 2-0 in a 7-game series, they are 37-0. So is tonight essentially the Eastern Conference Finals one way or the other?
I don't think so. Not with LeBron James. I mean, we've seen him down 3-1 in the finals, come back and win the championship.
2 Golden State, yeah.
2 Golden State, We've seen him, even in the last series when they were down 1-0 in Indiana, they came back and won that in 7. They're just when you got LeBron James, you got a chance. So even if they did drop the game tonight, which I think they're going to win the game. I think LeBron has an incredible game. Probably goes back to what he's been doing all postseason long and putting up 35, 40 points in a game and helping his team win. But you still got to go back to Cleveland. So even if they drop 2 in Boston, you win 2 in Cleveland, it's 0-0 again, essentially. So I don't see them losing tonight, but I do think that Boston's been playing incredible. Give those guys credit. Give Brad Stevens credit. And who knows? I mean, they may end up coming out the East.
Following a loss, and they were all the Pacers because they swept Toronto, LeBron James is averaging 41 points a game, shooting 63%. So
we're taking the over. What was our number?
We 35.
35.
We all expect him to have a monster game, but what else has to happen? What the talk is to possibly start a Tristan Thompson. Would you do something like that to match up with Horford?
Yeah, absolutely. I would have started him in game 1 personally. I thought he did a great job in the postseason when he's getting minutes. I think he's one of those guys that is one of the few guys on their team that's a rim protector that can protect the paint. I also think that if LeBron's being super aggressive, which we all know he will be tonight, attacking the basket, put more pressure on the defense, it helps him out a lot when his shooters hit shots. Missing all those threes in game 1 didn't help this team at all, didn't help LeBron at all. You got to knock down your shots when you're open because they got a lot of open shots. They just missed them. So if they make them tonight, that votes in their favor, obviously.
So is it Kevin Love or J.R. Smith, do you think, that needs to be hitting those perimeters to open up the interior so guys like LeBron and Love can get inside and maybe do some work?
All those guys. I mean, Kyle Korver gets open shots. Kevin Love's going to get open shots. He actually had a pretty decent game. Needed to be more aggressive, too. J.R. Smith's going to get open shots. All those guys will get open shots because LeBron's going to attack the basket.
Right.
He's going to come out the gate wearing. Remember game 2 against Indiana. He went off like the first 11, 12, 13 points of the game.
I think he had the first 16 or something.
Something like that. It was incredible. we may see the same thing tonight against Boston. Now, Boston's a much better defensive team. I was telling Golic earlier, they do a great job covering the basket as far as position defense. They don't have any really real shot blockers, rim protectors.
Right.
Horford does a pretty good job of it, but what they do is they do team defense. They're in the right position. So if LeBron beats you one-on-one, there's another guy there in the Celtic jersey. He has to kick out. So guys are going to get open shots. But LeBron's going to be aggressive.
Looking to the future, because I want to talk a little bit of gambling with you as well.
Okay.
With Boston, they have no Gordon Hayward, no Kyrie Irving. So is it too simple to say, wow, when they get them next year, add them to this team, how much better they're going to be? Or, as some say, will it mess with the chemistry and or rotation of that team? Or should we expect unbelievably great things from them?
I'm excited about it, to be honest. Like, if I'm Kyrie Irving, I'm like, wow, Rozier can really hoop. Tatum is not a rookie anymore. Brown has played incredible. We still got Horford. We bring me and Hayward back. Like, they're built for the future. They got a team that could, I mean, they might be coming out the East the next couple of years. You know, obviously everybody's excited about Philadelphia too, but they have a closer in Kyrie if he's healthy. They got Hayward, who hasn't seen it, who's going to be very fresh.
Yeah.
Very fresh to come next season. And these two young wings, Brown and Tatum, have stepped up in a major way. And then if Kyrie is banged up, Rozier's played terrific in his absence. We've learned a lot about this team. On top of that, Brad Stevens, I still can't believe he didn't get one vote.
Not a single vote.
I still can't believe he didn't get one vote. He's a great coach. So, in my opinion, if I'm a Celtics fan, I'm very excited for our future.
Yeah. Carlos Boozer with us in studio, two-time NBA All-Star. And then I want to get your reaction to the news, the big news that we'll be talking about forever, trying to figure this thing out. The sports books are now, the floodgates are open everywhere. As a player, because the NBA is, their stated goal is said, hey, we want 1%.
Right.
First of all, good luck with that. We'll see. We'll see how the legal bargaining and parsing of this goes forward. But as an NBA player, first of all, your reaction to that news, and secondly, how are you thinking as a player? How can I monetize what is being monetized off me?
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I've never been a bettor in sports. I never bet on sports in my life, but there's so much money involved. And it seems like the government wants to get involved. Other people want to get involved.
The government's getting involved.
100%.
They're getting theirs.
Yeah, they're going to get theirs. And I understand why the 1% adds up to a lot. So the fans out there don't understand. That adds up to billions of dollars, obviously. So at the end of the day, it's a money thing. I am concerned about what he said about the collegiate athletes who don't get paid a dime.
Right.
They're selling jerseys. They're selling different things off of their backs. At the end of the day, there's a lot of money out there being made off sports, a lot of money being made off college athletes as well. There's bookies involved. There's guys trying to get out there. And you guys seen this in the past. I think it was like UNLV and other programs got caught up where guys were throwing games in college to make money on the side. I worry about that more than anything else.
Yeah, and as people will correctly say, well, they can do that now because there is some legal gambling, there's offshore gambling, and there's $50 to $150 billion of illegal gambling, so you can do it now. But I guess the point is, if it's legal everywhere, there's more opportunity for some of these players. And really, I would think maybe multiple players getting together and saying, you know what, we can kind of control some of this, especially if you start letting prop bets in of first down or first completion or first strike or first things like that, where the players can really control it. To guys who, pro sport's one thing, when the average, in the NBA is tons of millions.
Yeah.
These other kids are like, wait a minute, I got nothing. And we can influence it. We don't have to throw a game. We can still try and win, but we can make a little bit of money.
See, that's the problem that's disheartening to me. I'm a huge college sports fan, as you guys are too.
Yeah.
So imagine a couple guys who may not go pro.
Right.
They get called by somebody on the phone, hey, I'm going to put 50 grand in your bag, just do this for me. I'm going to put 50 grand in your dorm room, do this for me. That bothers me because I'm raising kids that aspire to be athletes in college. I know other kids that are about to go to college that are good friends of mine as well. I don't want them to be, traumatized by this action by the legislature to legalize gambling. But I feel like it's gonna trickle down to college sports.
And again, we know you can do it now, but there's will be way more opportunity for it.
Well, to that point, this just came across my Twitter timeline, which is very interesting. What was the darling of the tournament? The NCAA tournament, Loyola Chicago.
Loyola Chicago.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Web traffic visitors up 91%. Social media engagement up 1,676%. Wow. Social media followers up 34%. Requests from prospective students up 31%. Wow. Athletic donations up 660%.
Wow.
And who's not seeing a dime of that?
The players.
The players on the court that made it happen. And that's the real issue that the NCAA's got to figure out more than anything else. Boozer, you're good. 35th pick in the draft, second round. Any advice to those guys that don't get picked in the first couple of picks?
Just keep going, man. At the end of the day, you're going to get your shot. When you get your shot, make the most of it.
You, too, can have a beard like Carlos Boozer,
there you go.
even if you're not drafted in the first round.
Sharp dressed as that.
Yeah, get out of here and go to Sports Center.
Golic and Wingo.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
It's a normal day. You're rushing out the door to get to work on time when suddenly, there it is, the dreaded service light. So what is it this time? Tire pressure? Low coolant? Time for an oil change? When it comes to service lights, head to Jiffy Lube. We've got you covered. Drive in today and make the switch to Pennzoil. Ask for Pennzoil Synthetics, getting you back on the road in a jiffy. Jiffy Lube. Leave worry behind.
We're delighted to be joined on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line by Todd Furman, a former odds maker at Caesars Palace and host of the Bet the Board podcast. So, Todd, the first question I had for you when we found out you were going to be on the show is, what are people in Vegas thinking specifically about the fact that they are no longer going to be the only place where you can bet on sports?
It's definitely been an interesting discussion, guys, trying to figure out how the lack of a monopoly on sports betting is going to change the landscape out here. But as you allude to, the proposed integrity taxes from the league and different tax structures in various states, if they can't offer the same competitive product that Nevada has for years with single game wagering and traditional $1.10 juice, putting up your $1.10 to make a dollar, they're not that worried that other states are going to be able to siphon off a lot of that cash. And I made this point yesterday to folks on the East Coast. If it's the middle of March and you're looking for a place to go for 96 hours during the NCAA tournament, I don't think a lot of folks are choosing Atlantic City over Las Vegas, given the women and the weather that we have out here.
How about from the league standpoint, what we mentioned, them wanting something off the top? What, if any, leverage do they have to actually accomplish that feat?
I'm not going to fault the leagues for trying to get a piece of the pie. We know that's always been their MO in a lot of these discussions, but in my opinion, and for a lot of the folks I've spoken to, they really have no leverage unless the states want to try and get involved, because casinos out here in Nevada haven't paid a royalty back to any of these leagues in the past. They haven't looked to go, hey, we have to appease the various organizations. And the NHL is the perfect example. The NHL set up shop here with the expansion Golden Knights. They didn't get a piece of any of the wagering that's taken place on the local team, and we've seen hockey betting go up 100% year over year with a team in our own market.
Todd Furman with us on the Bet the Board podcast, former odds maker at Caesars. Okay, so let's say, obviously New Jersey is all in on this. They hope to get going by the NBA Finals, but Delaware, Massachusetts, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island have also already sort of set things up in place. Take us through what actually has to happen and how this thing has to come together if they want to be a part of this process.
New Jersey is fast-tracked, and some of the operators there have said they have plans to take bets at Monmouth Park as early as the NBA Finals, which would be before the end of this month. Now, other states aren't quite in that same advantageous position. The Mississippis of the world have said, our goal is to kind of be up in full bore by the time football season gets here. You mentioned a laundry list of the other states that are there. We can throw Pennsylvania into the mix. Most of these states have to figure out what their tax structures are going to look like. Pennsylvania, for example, they're talking about a 35 to 40% tax bracket, which is going to make things extremely difficult for operators to bring a competitive product to market. And then the other big question, will it just be the ability to go into these casinos and make those wagers over the counter like old school Las Vegas and Nevada, or will you have the proliferation of mobile apps? I think for any state to be successful in a newly legalized market, you're going to have a mobile component built in. Otherwise, you're going to set up very interesting scenarios where people are going into the casinos and they're leaving just as quickly as they got there, and that's not going to be good for any of the operators either.
Todd Furman joining us, former odds maker at Caesars Palace, host of the Bet the Board podcast. How about from the athlete standpoint? Now, it's already been there for whether it's illegal betting or offshore betting, whatever, that they could be compromised in situations. But now this could be on a much grander scale if it's legal. How worried are you about the integrity of the player, especially the college player that doesn't make money?
It's definitely a discussion being had. Legalized wagering has traditionally been the best way to try and eliminate some of the impropriety and match-fixing scandals that have been out there, at least at the professional levels. Now, when we look at the collegiate ranks, that's a much different story because we have seen a point-shaving scandal years ago at Arizona State, but it was the legal markets here in Nevada that ultimately became the whistleblowers that something was going awry with the Sun Devils. You look at the smaller pockets, the Brian Johnson situation at San Diego, Scooter McDougal at Toledo, and the reality of it is, legal or not, Those kind of scenarios are going to play out either in the public eye or in the back alleys, because if it takes one rogue individual, it's not going to be a legalized market or a market where sports betting is frowned upon that's going to be able to stop that. It's the unfortunate reality of the world we live in. But you mentioned the players, and especially at the professional level, I think that's the reason you've seen the players' associations issue statements. They know that if the leagues are going to try and collect this integrity tax, and they're not going to be privy to some of that under the collective bargaining agreements, they're going to do everything they can to try and fight this and make sure their players are properly protected.
Todd Furman with us, former odds maker at Caesars Palace, host of the Bet the Board podcast. I'm glad you brought that up, because obviously sports gambling has been legal in Europe and many other places for a long, long time, and it actually was by checking some weird betting trends on some lower circuit tennis matches that actually brought out the match fixing scandal in tennis a couple of years ago. So in an odd, weird way, what all these leagues fear about the gambling and the integrity of the game is actually going to be sniffed out and discovered by the principles that may now be in place. So while they don't want to sort of have that come out there publicly for a lot of reasons I understand, it will be one of the things that roots out some of the problems they're actually concerned about.
Exactly. It creates a symbiotic relationship where the leagues and operators become, bedfellows, because there's two entities that stand to lose the most if there's impropriety or match fixing. It's the casino operators, or however these different outlets are set up state by state, where people are coming in, betting into predetermined outcomes in these sporting events, putting them at a disadvantage, or the leagues who worry that the integrity of their games are going to somehow be compromised. We look across the pond to the English Premier League and see the relationships built between sportsbooks and a lot of the biggest clubs in the world. They're constantly in communication with one another, looking for those irregular betting patterns, trying to root them out before things become paramount and create a much bigger scandal and a runaway freight train on the tracks that they're unable to stop.
Going back to the sports, the teams trying to get a piece of this action, do you believe they're able to, and if they are, this would have an effect, hold back injury news from odds makers out there?
I really don't believe that the teams are going to have a whole lot of leverage unless individual state governments allow them to. Like we said, we look at Nevada right now. They're not paying anything to any of the leagues, and the business model they have in place here is very tenable. It's about a 7% tax rate, and it allows the operators to offer a competitive product. You mentioned injury news, and that's one of the big reasons that I think for some people that have suggested you're going to have state or by state league-run sports books, then it becomes a real conflict of interest, because there's no greater scenario than on a Sunday morning, if they're holding back some of these NFL injury reports and they're taking as much action on one side of a game as they possibly can. And oh, by the way, a major injury breaks right before the game to Tom Brady or someone capable of moving a line 4 to 7 points. Then it gives the teams a competitive advantage in terms of that ancillary revenue stream.
Well, that's an interesting one, and using Tom Brady's name is really significant, Todd, because he did have that cut on his hand before the AFC Championship game, and he played fine, obviously, with it, but we saw the cut afterwards. It was pretty deep. How much did an injury like that actually move the line in Vegas?
That injury didn't move the number a ton. You actually had the Jaguars open right around a 9.5-point underdog. There was some money that came in early in the week on Jacksonville from professional bettors, taking it down to that 7.5 range. Did get down to a touchdown before it ultimately settled in right around a touchdown. Now, if Tom Brady had been ruled out, you'd be talking about that number, knowing New England didn't have a true backup quarterback in the form of Jimmy Garoppolo, with that price coming down much closer to a field goal. So it's one of those things, and it's been that great cat and mouse game that's taken place in Nevada for years. Who gets the injury information first? Who's able to use it? And more importantly, profit off of it.
Todd, we're talking about $50 to $150 billion a year in illegal gambling. If within 5 years, some reports say 32 states may have gambling, can you fathom or try and put a number to where the gambling numbers, legal gambling numbers may be?
I think you're going to see a massive boost, and part of that is going to come from the existing customer base looking to take advantage of the multitude of wagering options they're going to have at their disposal, largely driven by in-game wagering that we've seen here in Nevada. You've seen people bet a lot more money than they ever had before because they have the ability to do so. Now, the one thing that does concern me is people automatically assuming that all of the money being wagered illegally, whether it's offshore with the corner bookmakers, is somehow going to find itself into the legal market. we do have to temper a few of those expectations because we know in this fine country, a lot of people like to buy things now and pay for them later on credit. That's one luxury that the corner bookmakers still be able to afford players that casinos and other operators won't be able to do.
Well, look, it is a brave new world we're entering, and we're all trying to figure it out. There's a million hot takes out there. We're just trying to figure out what may actually happen. We appreciate you shedding some light on that. Todd Furnham, former odds maker at Caesars Palace, host of the Bet the Board podcast. Todd, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. You can listen or subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or just ask your smart speaker to play Golic and Wingo. Plus, you can check the guys out live weekday mornings from 6 to 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN News.
I'm a one-trick pony. Literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la. Aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.